Hello, YouTube. I just got back from work. I was watching Emma Chamberlain's podcast, as I do, and she made an episode about anxiety and derealization, and it kind of just made me realize how many people actually struggle with this, and I really want to put my story out there so I hope I can help people, because I struggled with that for many years, and I have a lot of tips and things that have helped me get through that. Also go watch her podcast because it was really good. But I think the first time that I felt it, I was 16 or 17. It was in my junior year, and I was going to Savers with my friends. We were going thrifting after school, and I didn't eat lunch that day, and I drank a Red Bull, and all of a sudden while we were thrifting, I just started to get lightheaded, but also this euphoric, not good euphoric, just weird dreamlike feeling. When I was touching the hangers, it felt like I wasn't touching anything, and I was dropping stuff, and I just felt flighty is the best way to put it. It was just weird, super scary. We went and got food after. I felt better, didn't really think about it again. I think what was happening then though is my anxiety was getting worse and worse and worse, and I didn't know I had anxiety at this point. I was diagnosed with OCD when I was little, but my mom never really told me that. I think she just thought I'd grow out of it or something. I don't know. But so I think I was just putting it off for years. How I would deal with my anxiety is I would just have a stomach ache, and I'd be like, "Hey, it's too bad. We're going to school. We're going to hang out with people," which is it is good because I wasn't letting it stop me. But I had no going back to my comfort zone, if you're going out of your comfort zone into your stretch zone, and you're stretching yourself thin and doing things that are hard, you need to come back to that comfort zone and reboot. And I wasn't doing that, and my anxiety was just getting really bad. So that happened, didn't think much of it. A month later, I was in class, and how mine is everything gets really bright, really, really bright. Things are more saturated. Faces just look weird, a little bit off. Things look off. I feel so disconnected. I feel so in my head. It's the most, how Emma Chamberlain said, it's the most indescribable feeling. But yeah, those were just the things that I can kind of say. It feels colorful, bright, overstimulating, just taking in all this information. Thoughts are so loud, and it's awful. So I started having that, and I thought I was going crazy. I was can I even walk anymore? It sounds irrational, which it was, but can I get up? Can I drive my car? Can I go to school? Can I go to work? When is this feeling gonna come back, And I think for 3 or 4 days at a point, I had it over and over and over, and just wasn't going away. I remember specifically these the big SUV mom vans. Those cars looked so weird to me, so scary. I just felt like I was in a video game. And how she talked about it happened for the first time for her when she was high. I have also partaken in some weed and some psychedelics, and I would say the feeling is similar to that. I think the fact that I felt like that before with weed and with shrooms and things made it so my brain could get there again with being sober. I think once you unlock or access that part of your brain, it can come back when you're sober, and this disassociation. I'm sure you can get there without doing drugs, but I definitely think it might have stemmed from that. So anyway, I started to experience this, and it was just unbearable. I was looking on YouTube, I was trying to find help, I didn't know what to do. One day after work, I just went to my mom, and me and my mom weren't super close, and I was kind of in my angsty teenage phase, so I was kind of mean to her. Love you, Mom. But I was after work, and I just went to her, and I started just breaking down crying, and I was like, I need help. I don't know what's happening. I have no idea. And she got me in therapy. I started going to nature more, and what I can say is therapy, if it's possible for you, is so helpful. Find an anxiety expert, find a derealization expert, disassociation. Changed my life. if therapy is not an option for you, or if it is, also nature was such a lifesaver. Go in the trees, go in the canyon, go in the river, anything like that is just going to calm your nervous system down, and that is just so helpful for derealization. My therapist kind of explains anxiety. It's like this umbrella, okay? So you have this umbrella, and there's just different things in it. OCD, anxiety, the phobias, derealization. So it's like this, right? And I'd say when I was younger, I was more in the OCD, and then here, now I was in the derealization, and it can just kind of, it can fluctuate. Like, you can go between them. But all of it is in your nervous system. So your nervous system is like what's responsible for anxiety, and that is really important to know. That anxiety is not an emotion. It can be, but it can also turn into this huge thing that is not an emotion, and it is your nervous system. And you can't just like sit with that. It's not like sadness where you're just like, okay, I have to sit in this. When it's that drastic, you need to regulate your nervous system. So that can be breath work, making your inhales shorter than your exhales. So like, see how I made my exhale longer? That will calm you down. Butterfly tapping is a really good one. So just like slowly I'll do this. And just breathe. This is super helpful. Cold water on your neck. This is your vagus nerve right here. And I love to cold plunge. So I go in the river, I do the cold showers, I do all of it, because when you get this vagus nerve regulated, it like is a shock to your system, and it helps you genuinely so much and can just relax things. There's so many like regulation techniques, but I just want to make that apparent, because when I first started having this, I was like, how do I deal with this? Do I let it be there? Do I try to distract myself out of it? Normally, distracting yourself from emotions isn't good, right? How I was always hanging out with people and like not really doing anything about it. But when you're in this huge existential space, the only thing you can do to get out of that, you can't talk yourself out of that. You need to regulate yourself. So distract yourself, read a book, listen to something, just get yourself soothed. And then you can kind of deal with that and learn more about it. But you can't do that when you're up here. You only can do that when you're down here, if that makes sense. I think also when I was having it really bad, I had a lot of mantras on my phone, and those would help me a lot. So if I was at work and it would start happening, just things like, this is temporary, everything passes, this feeling passes, I'm not stuck here, because that's a really big fear for people with this. I'm never going to be normal again, this is how I am, like I'm stuck in this scary feeling, but that isn't true. It will go away. It's like this, waves. Let me grab a book. I don't know if I'm allowed to just like put things on the internet that I'm not sponsored by, but I think I can. The Anxiety Sister Survival Guide. This was super helpful. It's just these like two sisters, and they make it really funny and just kind of talk about, yeah, how to help it. But they have the wave thing in there, so it's like just waves, you know? Like you just have to kind of let the tide go and just sit and wait for it to pass. And eventually, it just like slowed down slower and slower. I still struggle with anxiety. I think I'm more in an OCD kind of way now, which I prefer over derealization, because it's hard. It is the hardest thing I've ever gone through. And no one gets it. You feel crazy. When I was explaining it to my friends, they were looking at me like I was crazy, like what's going on? I just say gratitude is a big one. I know it's silly. Gratitude meditation, like everyone just like, okay, I've heard this my whole life. Sleep, but they are so helpful. Eating too. That's why that first time it happened, is because I didn't eat anything and I drank a Red Bull, which is like the worst thing you can do for anxiety, but I didn't know that at the time. Gratitude will change your life. If you're here and your thought loop is, this is never gonna get better, life is awful, I can't connect with anyone, I can't talk to people, I can't go to work, I can't go to school, no one gets me, I've had all of these thoughts and a million more, just like this, you know? But if you start breaking out of that and you're, other people understand, I will get through this, life will get better, the happy moments are like gonna come too, like with the sad, there's happy with sad, all of these things. It will change your life, I promise. Like, just really try to do the gratitude as much as you can. Meditating is a big one too. whenever I find myself getting angry, anger is a secondhand emotion. So if you're getting angry, it's probably because you're anxious, or there's something under that, or you're sad or something. Like, it's happening because of something else. So when I get angry and overstimulated and overwhelmed, I'm like, okay, this is anxiety. Let's take a second. I go to the bathroom at work. I go to the bathroom at school. I go to my room, whatever it is. And it calms things down. I think another thing is you can't force yourself out of the derealization state. Like, I remember when it first started happening to me in class, and I would look away from a second, and I just look at my paper, I do my stuff, and then I'd look up and be like, is it gone yet? And then everything would still look really weird and scary, and things looked wrong. So I go back down to my paper and be like, no. And that's obviously not helping. That's making myself more scared. That's making me freak out more about it. Just letting yourself be there, being like, okay, I'm uncomfortable, but I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm fine. I'm here. This is an uncomfortable feeling, but I felt it before. I've gotten through it before. I'm going to get through it again. That's a really big one. I'm uncomfortable, but I've gone through this before, and I'm going to get through it again. What you're feeling is real, and the fear is real, and just everything about it is real, but also you have to realize that it's irrational. These things that are happening, the thoughts that you're having, that you're going crazy, these things are irrational, they're not true. Your thoughts are not true a lot of the time. Just regulate. Talking to the ones you love. That was the biggest breakthrough for me when I opened up to my mom, and it made us how close we are today, because I finally, at 16 or 17, was like, Mom, I can't do this anymore. I don't know what's happening. And especially with parents, if you're close with your parents or your siblings, this is a lot of the time genetic. This is genetic for me and my mom. So she dealt with anxiety when she was younger, and she just raw dogged it. She didn't really talk to anyone. That's crazy, but she had so much advice for me, and it's just so comforting to tell someone something and they're like, oh, I know. I've been there too. It is the most validating, just weight off your shoulders feeling. And even if they don't get it, just try and show them this video and be like, this is how it feels. Or show them Emma Chamberlain's video or a snippet of what derealization is. It used to be really hard not to be scared of it, and it's still there. When I was listening to her video and hearing about her bad high and how it made this derealization start happening, it got me a little anxious. And I was like, oh, this is really scary to talk about, to hear about. It makes me feel like I'm gonna go crazy. I have this feeling when I have anxiety that I'm on this cliff. This is me on this cliff, and I'm looking out, and if I get too scared, if I get too overstimulated, if I feel a derealization again, if I feel any of these things, I'm just gonna fall off this cliff, and I'm never gonna come back up. I'm gonna stay down there. And that's not true. I've never fallen off the cliff. It's not gonna happen. It's a hard thing, and I still get scared of it happening, and I still get scared it's gonna happen sometimes, at social situations, but it's so much better. I remember when I was in the pits of it, I was like, am I ever gonna go a day without thinking about this? And I didn't think I would, and now I do. Before this video, probably haven't thought about it in a week or two. It's not so big anymore. I've dealt with it 100 fucking times. I can get through it again, and I will, and you will too. Yeah, so I hope this helped anyone that was listening. Much love. Go over here.
Hey, Alon.